Of course, the Constitutional Court has dismissed the Correctional Services application for leave to appeal. Of course, that is something that I just said a bit earlier on. Let's go straight now to our guest. And of course, we are now joined by Sysman Motloung, who is our political analyst, to discuss some of the developments coming out from the Constitutional Court pertaining to former President Jacob Zuma as well as President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's start off here. What is your reaction, Sysman, when it comes to that judgment pertaining to former President Jacob Zuma in the Constitutional Court?
Yeah, what comes through is a matter of how we see the checks and balances in our political system being effective to counter the administrative decisions when they are flawed. And what is quite interesting here is noting that Arthur Fraser used the administrative executive powers to grant a parole against the advice of your medical officers in that department. And here we see the court also affirming that view that what Fraser applied, the logic that he applied, was really considering other aspects that are not pertinent to a medical parole. This was not based on a sound medical advice. I think this is basically how this parole has been upended. And for me, this is very important when we see the court playing a very pivotal role in ensuring the rule of law prevails, where we see patrimonial relations influencing public services. So this is something very important. Aside to this, the reaction was, does the court really consider the political implications? Because there are those who are speaking on that aspect. Yeah. That this is a dangerous decision to make when it is believed that in 2021 those kind of protests that came through was a reaction to the incarceration of Mr. Zuma. So could we expect another violent uproar around this? I really doubt that, but you see the court not being intimidated by that political nuance. They are making a decision based on the rule of law. And this is the logic that prevails in our jurisprudence.
And Sysman, it also brings me to my next question. Of course, we know that there is this perception, especially when it comes to former President Jacob Zuma, that he is being targeted. And especially when you see two of these very important court outcomes from the highest court in the land, one, of course, in favor of President Cyril Ramaphosa, and the other, one would say, against former President Jacob Zuma. What does it say about public perception here when, we hear the terms of Wenzenu Zuma? These are the kind of the rhetoric that always comes out when we see some of these court outcomes.
Yeah, definitely, especially Mr. Zuma's incarceration at this moment. There are those who support him who say this is unprecedented, to being imprisoned by a ConCourt's and without trial. So this is really unprecedented. It is something that when we have to look at it, and it happened affecting Zuma, that aspect of Wenzenu Zuma really emboldens those who support him to say Zuma has been persecuted from the very moment he came into office. His presidency was a presidency of him spending time in court over the arms deal, and Wenzenu Zuma is an aspect of that. The corruption that is related to the arms deal, it was not only Zuma affected. Some think Mr. Mbeki should also be affected by that, but he's untainted. Then comes Ramaphosa presidency with the CR7 decision not to unseal the financial records. And then that said, the courts are already on the side of Ramaphosa because there's perceptions there. Opinion is that why do you not unseal? Do we not see if Ramaphosa spent money on judges? And over the tenure of Ramaphosa in office, there's that trend of court judgments that favor him. Obviously, then those detractors will say, indeed, the courts are pro-Ramaphosa and anti-Zuma. So Zuma has always been a pariah. So others would say, but if he's a lawbreaker, like say Ndlozi once called him a constitutional delinquent, so if he's that, then the court should not be on his side. The judgment should not favor somebody who's starkly at odds with the law. So this is how we see it. And then we want to see, like I said earlier, should the courts be concerned with this political sentiment? Should they be threatened by it to favor a position that is against the law, anti-law, in order to assuage the political sentiments? Say, if we say Zuma is guilty or we take an unpopular decision, then there could be some chaos out of that. So we see a court that is resilient. We see the court that is stern to say we will make an independent decision no matter how unfavorable it is.
And, taking it back to the ANC, one would ask, what does it say about the ANC going into the 2024 elections here? The Constitutional Court sort of clearing a President Cyril Ramaphosa. And at the same time, there are still the issues that President Zuma still needs to deal with. Some are even saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa should step in and give him a presidential pardon. Where does it place the ANC, which has suffered so many factional battles?
Yeah, they say President Ramaphosa comes to former President Zuma, give him a pardon. You see now Zuma is taking Ramaphosa to court over that, over some aspects of him, Ramaphosa, not acting when Zuma requested him to intervene when his medical records were leaked. You already see there's no relationship, a healthy relationship between Zuma and Ramaphosa. There, it's a matter of saying, even when the sitting president would give pardons, should we consider the nature of a relationship? So I don't think in any way Mr. Ramaphosa would want to give Mr. Zuma a pardon for aspects of being symbolic around it. I think he should not even create that perception that Mr. Zuma will get a presidential pardon because of his stature politically. Let Mr. Zuma be subjected to the process of law. When we say all are equal before the law, that's one. Then considering the implications on the ANC prospects in the following elections, I think it is very good that Mr. Ramaphosa is not really now implicated by any legal issues.
All right, then.
And then it will embolden him in that sense, Ogoti. He will not be called in by those that are in the opposite factions to call him to step aside.
All
so
right.
It should embolden him, really. Other than that, Mr. Zuma should be now the part of the history of the ANC. He should not feature so much on the prospects of it succeeding or failing in elections.
Mr. Motloung, thank you so much for your time. That is Sysman Motloung, a political analyst, just unpacking those developments coming out of the Constitutional Court.